for the next 10 weeks, we are going to be doing a series. We've already outlined how to do the series in the video week 41. So if you have not watched week 41, it's really important that you go back and review that video. So we have the subject matters, the hot air balloon landscapes. I have my color palette and I've pulled out all of the colors that I want to use. I'm going to do mixed medium, so watercolor, pen and ink, oil pastels, crayons, markers, maybe acrylic, and collage. I even wanted to add some sewing elements into that. Techniques that I'm going to use are stencils, make lots of texture, scratch into the surface, stamps, spray it with water, and rub away areas. Some composition considerations. I love doing line drawings. I want to make sure that I keep the lines narrow. I like movement in my piece, and I want to be able to see the brush strokes. Also, it's really important for me to have rest areas. That creates a breathable area where I feel a sense of calm, so it doesn't get too overwhelming and chaotic. My overall mood, I'm not really sure if I want to have each piece have their own mood, or if I decided that I didn't want it to tell a story. I do have the pictures from the Hot Air Balloon Festival that I went to, but that's not really, I don't want to do realistic pictures. So I do know that my overall mood is going to be fun and carefree. So I'm not going to do the Hot Air Balloon Festival, although my reference photos are from the Hot Air Balloon Festival. And I'm not even going to worry about the place so much, because I want these to be fun and carefree. I don't want to fuss over trying to make the Eiffel Tower or something crazy like that. Some rules. All of the pieces are going to have mixed media. All of them are going to have hot air balloons. And I wanted to use heat because they are hot air balloons. So each piece is going to have something hot. They're going to include these colors, which is turquoise, a pink, and coral, and navy blue. So those 4 colors, if I don't use all of the colors every time, at least those 4 colors will be in it. I'm not going to use any pink, red colors or brown. I'm not going to make heavy, thick lines. I'm try and keep my lines narrow. And I want my composition to use positive and negative space creatively, and I don't want any boring shapes like triangles, cubes, and circles. And at the end of this, I'm going to say fun and carefree. No fuss, no overworking. So now that I have set my intentions, I can get started. But this is going to be a little different in how we do this each week, because as we're working through making a series, it's going to be a little bit different than just making one piece every time. So I have here my photo references. I've also done some research on hot air balloons, and I've come up with some sketches. I've also written some quotes that I liked. These are some sketches I've done, and these are pictures of the Hot Air Balloon Festival that I took. So I have those pictures. I have some sketch inspiration. I have the symbolism of a hot air balloon to me, which is a unique type of freedom. And when I look at hot air balloons, I think of being uplifted. That's what I want this picture to feel like. Uplifted, fun, whimsical, carefree. So I have my goals written, I have my reference photos. Now I'm going to start with some sketches. I'm not going to tape my paper down at all as I work through the series because I am going to work through several pieces at once, because this way I can work and not have to worry about drying time. All right, I have this little container that I bought at Walmart for $1, and I really like it because I can pour all of my colors in there and use them without having to worry about reloading. And after I'm done, I just close the lid and I put it in a Ziploc bag, and then I wet some paper towels and I put those in with it and try and get all the air out and seal it up. So this is going to help keep my colors consistent. This is all dry in here. This is just going to be where I'm going to pour these. Then I'm going to test them out on a piece of paper and figure out which ones are the darkest, which shades are the lightest, and I'm gonna figure out also their translucency. I'm putting these in the stalls that have similar colors to them also. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start testing these out. I'm going to try and figure out which colors are going to be the lightest to the darkest. Also, I want to figure out if they are opaque or transparent. So if they can cover this line, then that means they're pretty opaque. I want to make sure I dry my brush in between each one really well, because if I get drips, it's going to make the paint look more translucent because the water is going to water it down. So Okay, I think that's pretty good. I do think these ones need to be switched. Now I'm going to move to watercolors because I am going to have some watercolors, work with watercolors here. I was hoping that I'd be able to pop these out. So I can just grab the ones I want. And keep those out. I've gone through and I've pulled out all of the oil pastels that I feel are in line with this project and the color palette that I've chosen. A word of caution. So I have this green, grass green, and it is not the lime green that I've chosen. So I can make two choices. I can either just decide not to use it, or I can mix two colors together to get it. But it's really important to decide and stick with your color palette. So if it's not going to work together, then it's better to not use it than to add a whole new color to the color palette that you've already decided. So I could mix these three colors. I'm going to write down how I made that, so I remember and decide if I want to use that or not use it. The rest of the colors I'm going to put away. Alright, so I've gone ahead and I've mixed some watercolor to have the same color too. I didn't show that because it would take a really long time. It took a really long time to get the colors right and mixed up, but I have those in my little bottles here so that they are liquid and easy to use. I was trying to pull out the cake in this one, but I wasn't having good luck with that, so I decided to go a different route and mix up the colors. So I have my acrylics, I have my watercolors, I have my oil pastels. I think I'm gonna grab some markers and see if there's any that I want to use there. I'm actually not gonna dig into the markers. I don't love the way that they go with mixed media. So I think I'm happy with what we have here, plus my pencil, and I'm gonna add a couple pens as we go. Maybe now that I'm thinking of it, I actually think that I'm gonna do the Sharpie marker line drawings before we begin each picture. So I'm gonna get my sketchbook out. I'm going to start doing some drawings and start creating. I did want to add some texture to this, and I found this map from when we went to Yellowstone. I think I'm gonna do some paint on top of this, or I'm just gonna tear it in strips and use it and incorporate it. I like the texture and I like that it's a map, so that will get my feeling like I'm doing a landscape, but with water or with hot air balloons. I might also fidget with materials, test these out. I have these little dots. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little sample on so that I can stick this to the bottle so I can tell what colors. Sometimes when the colors are so concentrated, it's hard to tell what's in the bottle. So this is kind of housekeeping stuff, but it does get the creativity going. So sometimes it just takes some warming up. I feel like I'm not quite there yet. I'm going to keep these in order though so that I can stick the stickers on. I wanted to stick this on something circular like the top or the bottom, but it wasn't fitting really well. Well, I could have fit it on the bottom, but I wouldn't be able to see it very well, so it's not my favorite. I would rather have like a rectangular sticker if it's gonna go not on something circular, but it's visible there. It's okay. Sometimes you just have to do what you can. It won't always be perfect. I love these colors though. I think they're gorgeous. So and getting them out there makes me excited to start using them. The more that I think about it and the more that I kind of want to just start and not have too much of a plan. I want to have some freedom and I want it to feel carefree. As I was flipping through my photo references, I came across this picture and I love it. I love how smushy and funny the hot air balloons look together. And I love that they're on the ground, and so you can really get an idea of how big these hot air balloons actually are. So I mentioned that I wanted to add some stitches to these, and I'm looking at this hot air balloon and noticing these fantastic seams through the hot air balloon. So maybe that is where I'm going to add my stitches. Oops, I went right off the page. I got really into that. So I'm going to leave myself a note here. This is the beauty of sketching things out, is you start to get ideas coming forward. These are people. They're just tiny. These balloons are just gigantic. So right now I am actually thinking that I might want to change the format of my hot air balloons. I've been working in a rectangular format this whole this is the 42nd week of us doing this, and I actually might want to do these in squares. So I'm still going to use the same paper. I might just cut the end off and do them in squares. Where I'm doing a series, they don't all have to be the same size or direction. There's no restrictions on that unless you put that on yourself. That is one restriction that I am going to put on myself, just because I like them to all be the same size and belong together. At first I was thinking I would do landscapes, but now that I found such pleasure in these close-up pictures of the hot air balloons, I'm actually thinking maybe of taking and using this space more fully. Now, when someone's making a movie or a comic strip, they'll make a storyboard. I'm thinking of that myself right now. I'm kind of making a storyboard for these to fit together. This is really just a brainstorm. So some ideas I'm having here are maybe the pieces connect. Through line and movement. I don't know that my personal pictures have enough of a storyline to them. Had I been thinking about this more artistically, I maybe would have had them in order when I printed them off, because I am not sure that I see a real storyline. Because I could have even included the driving around in my car, a picture of my car. So I'm feeling like that storyline is something I could do in the future, but not something I can do right now. So when I get stumped like this and I'm sitting here thinking, what should I do? I go back to my intentions. It's going to be fun, freedom, or carefree, and that will help me to refocus on keeping it fun and carefree. This is also maybe a chance to look through some pictures of artwork that I like and look at styles. If I get stuck, I can start going through my sketchbooks and seeing if there's anything that pops out that I want to try. And sometimes I walk around and I start kind of collecting things, any inspiration. So I just grabbed some thread and needles. I saw this thread and I thought that goes well with my color scheme. I'm going to, first off, I'm going to tear some of the mats. I decided I'm not going to pre-color this paper. I'm just going to incorporate it into the artwork. I almost want to label these pieces so that, not that I normally would do that, but because I want to be able to follow the progression of each piece. So even though I'm working through these pieces all sort of together, I'm going to label them and maybe show them. So to recap, this week you're going to want to clean and organize your workspace. Make sure that you start fresh and only grab the supplies that you're going to be using. Gather and print your photo references. Have them handy and close by so that you can refer to them as you're doing your thumbnail sketches. Sketch out all of the ideas, even if you don't think that they're great ideas or you might vary from those ideas. Have a place to start. Gather your supplies together, everything that you think you might want to use, organize them and gather them together. And last, if you have the ability to store your paint, mix your paint colors.